Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and welcome to another HOBOTECH product review. So riddle me this. What's orange and black, can be picked up with one hand, and has enough power to run your microwave? Now if you said Jackery, you'd be incorrect. It's actually the all-new Pecron S1500 solar power station. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's cheaper, and it offers more usable power than the competition. Could this be the best bang for the buck in 2021? Let's find out. So what comes in the bag? Well, of course you have the user manual. You have this big honking AC wall charger that actually outputs 29.4 volts at 15 amps. And then you have what I call the Medusa cable, because it's like all this spaghetti stuff going on here. You have a 12 volt cigarette lighter, two 5521 males, and one 5521 female. And then this goes into their aviation style cable. And then you have this 12 volt cigarette lighter charger, which basically takes 11 to 40 volts and puts it to 29.4 volts. So you have your plug in one side, it goes to your vehicle, and the other side is an aviation connector that goes to the Pecron. So let's take a quick look at the manual. So here's some interesting advice you should follow. Do not slide or crash the device. So don't take your Pecron drifting. Product specifications for those interested. And it does show here how to charge with a car and solar. Do note that the solar cable does not come with the Pecron. And that's all she wrote. Now this new Pecron sports a 1461 watt-hour automotive grade lithium ion battery claiming a 2000 cycle life. And as for size and weight, it's 13.8 by 10 by 7.3 inches, and they claim 25 pounds, but as I weighed it, it actually clocked in at 27.8. As for build quality, this is all ABS plastic. It does have some rubberized feet. As for the display, this Pecron has an upgraded LCD smart display that offers not just a battery icon, but also the percentage of charge. It also offers input and output watts, charge and discharge times, and battery voltage and frequency, and believe it or not, even power factor. And it also has this very cool speedometer style dial that will tell you the actual percent of inverter load. Although I call this the turbo boost meter. Super Pursuit. Now, as for the inverter on this, it actually has a 1500 watt pure sine inverter with 3 grounded outlets, and something I've never seen before on one of these portable power stations, that's the ability to ground the inverter. So this actually has a little ground pole here, so you can drive your 6-foot copper stake into the ground and ground the inverter on this if you so desire. Now, the Pecron S1500 only offers a PWM charger instead of the more modern MPPT. We'll go over this in a bit. As for ways to charge the Pecron, you of course have the included AC wall charger, which is good for 400 watts of charging, or topping up from 0 to 100% in just under 4 hours, which is actually quite impressive. And then they offer a car charger, which is obviously significantly slower, charging at about 100 watts. This will take about 15 hours from 0 to full. And as for solar charging, of course, the Pecron does support solar charging, otherwise we couldn't call it a solar generator. It supports up to 400 watts of solar, so it can charge this unit in under 4 hours, but it does require a special combination of panels, which we'll review here in a bit. As for 12 volt outputs, there are actually no direct 12 volt outputs anywhere on this device. You have to use what I call the Medusa cable, which is this multiple output cable that goes from the Pecron to whatever you want to power. So you have to actually plug this into the DC out on this side, and then use the outputs from the cable. So you have your 12 volt cigarette output, good for your refrigerators and other car devices. You have two 5521 male outputs and a 5521 female output. Voltage is regulated out of this port for all of these at 13.9 volts, so you'll have no problem with power. Now, as for USB outputs, the Pecron offers 4 USB-A quick charge ports rated at 18 watts. There's no power delivery available on this unit. They do include this little adapter, which will allow you to take one of these USB quick charge ports and output up to 18 watts through USB-C, but do note that this is not officially a power delivery output. Now, as for the warranty on the Pecron, they offer 12 months from the manufacturer, which may be doubled to 24 months depending on if they hit their stretch goal. So, of course, I took the Pecron S1500 into my secret laboratory and performed all kinds of crazy experiments on it. Since the Pecron is a larger unit, I did decide to do a double capacity test on this, so I did one for AC and one for DC. So you know what that means? That's right. It's another double-fisted bang, bang capacity test. Results of the capacity test. The AC capacity test, I used a small 200 watt heater, and that clocked in at 1,350 watt hours out of 1,461 for an amazeballs 92% efficiency. This is a full 9 percentage points better than the JACKERY Explorer 1500 that I just reviewed, meaning you're getting more bang for your buck out of the Pecron. As for the DC capacity test, I did that at 8 amps like I always do, and the Pecron scored an even slightly better 1,357 watt hours or 93% efficiency. When you compare this to the JACKERY Explorer 1500's barely average 79%, you get a whopping 175 more watt hours out of the Pecron. As for the max charge rate test, which I had to use the adapter to pull out of this 10 amp port, I was able to get 9.5 amps out of 10 amps total before the voltage drop was too severe to be usable. So you can expect a full 128 watts from this output, regardless of whether or not you're using the 5.5s or the 12 volt cigarette lighter or all of them combined. You can expect about 128 watts of output. Now that's no problem at all. That'll run any refrigerator out there. So let's go ahead and plug this wall charger in and see what we get. Now, first thing I notice is that this little charger is quite noisy. Let's see how much noise this thing actually produces. About 62 decibels. So do take note that while you're charging with the AC wall charger, it is kind of noisy. As you can see, we're doing about 412, 413 watts from an AC wall charger. That means this will charge from the wall in under 4 hours, which is pretty good. Now let's test and see how much DC power we can put into the Pecron. Now they include this 12 volt car adapter, but they did not include a solar charger. So I have really no way to test the solar ability on this. And I'll tell you why, because they use these special aviation cables, aviation connectors, and I don't have anything like this laying around. I don't build these types of cables from scratch. They didn't include anything like this for solar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to test not only the 12 volts, but we'll just max it out. We'll see how much power we can pump into the Pecron just using this converter box. Pecron says it will charge as low as 11 volts, so I have it on 11 volts, and we're getting 66 watts. Let's go ahead and bump it up to 12.6 volts, which would be a standard lead acid battery, charging at 79 watts. No surprise. Let's bump it up to 13.6. Now up to 88 watts. This is about a standard charge rate for any solar generator running off of a 12 volt battery. So let's take it up to base solar panel voltage, or 18, and now we're up to 117 watts, 118 watts. Take it up to upper limit of single 12 volt solar panel, 24 volts. We're now doing 128 watts. So with this adapter, you can actually put in 128 watts of solar from a single solar panel. Now it says that the upper limit for this adapter is 40 volts. So let's take it up to 40 volts, 137 watts. Let's just max it out and see what happens. So 51.4 volts. We're putting 158 watts in. So we're definitely maxing out this little converter box because it says it can handle 150 watts. And we got almost 160 coming in. So the lesson here is that you can charge this with a single solar panel or two solar panels in series if you're using this little 12 volt box that it comes with. Basically what it'll do is it will take the voltage coming from the solar panels, convert it to 29.4 volts, at up to 5 amps and stick it back into the Pecron. Now they do claim that the Pecron will charge from at least 300 watts of solar. In fact, in the book it says it supports 36 volts at 20 amps, which would be like 720 watts of solar. Now, I can guarantee you this isn't taking 700 watts of solar, but I'm pretty sure they claim 300 to 400 watts of solar is capable if you put it directly into this input. Now, since they didn't give me the cable, and I don't have any way to make an adapter, I have no way to test this. So I have no way to prove their claims in this case. So you're gonna have to basically take their word for it that this will take 300 to 400 watts of solar at 36 volts. They recommend 36 volts of solar panels of around 400 watts. That means 2 12-volt solar panels in series. So it may be possible that you can actually input more than the recommended 36 to 40 volts in this, but I have no way to verify that. So it doesn't state anywhere in the documentation or on the product just how much power we're supposed to pull out of the QC3 port, but I'm guessing that these are 18 watts each. Okay, here we are at 12.5 volts again. I'm gonna have to guess that we're gonna be limited to about, yep. It's the same amount of power. It doesn't matter if you're using the adapter or not. You can only expect 24 to 30 watts out of the power delivery. So if you're looking to power a MacBook or some high-end power delivery device, this isn't going to work for you. Now, it's going to work perfectly fine for cell phones and tablets, stuff that's not like really high-end, high amount of power required. So just keep that in mind. And for those that want to know if this supports pass-through charging, in other words, can you charge it with solar or AC or 12 volt while you use the outputs on it? The answer is yes. This next test is the pure sine wave check. As you can see, we have a pure sine wave. You can see we're getting 110 volts at 60 hertz. So let's see what happens when you add a little bit of dirty load.
Giggity, giggity, giggity.
In other words, solar degenerator. See if it messes up the sine wave. Nope, looks pretty good. Now the final test here is everyone's favorite, and I do this one last just in case something blows up. That is the AC output test. So we're going to use the solar degenerator heat gun. We're going to push this sucker to 1500 watts and beyond and see, does it self-destruct or does it have a good inverter in it? So far, the inverter looks pretty good. But I have to say there is a small percentage of these solar generators, especially ones that aren't from JACKERY or BLUETTI, that end up failing this test, and I end up bricking it and throwing it in the trash. So let's hope that's not going to be the case here. Let's hope that we don't blow this up, but I do have to warn you, this may get ugly. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to start on regular speed with no heat, which is only going to be about 100 watts, and then we'll start cranking it up from there, just adding heat. And we'll take it all the way up as high as we can. Now, it should be able to handle this heat gun at full speed. So we'll find out here in a moment. Okay, so that's no heat. Let's go ahead and start increasing. We're at 108 volts, still at 60 hertz. I have the solar degenerator maxed out. So right now it's all the way as high as it can go. And it says there we're pulling 1200 watts, but it should actually be more than that. Now it's saying that this on full is only 1200 watts, but it's not. This is an 1800 watt gun. Usually it pulls around 1400 from the source. So I'm gonna have to double check these results by plugging in my kilowatt meter. So I have my handy dandy half melted kilowatt meter. If you guys want to know why this is melted, back before Bitcoin was cool, I used to mine Bitcoin. And well, let's just say that I pulled a lot of amps from my household outlets on those mining machines, and that's why this is melted. I'm asked that all the time when I bring this thing out. So yes, it's from Bitcoin, probably about a decade ago. And no, I'm not a multi-millionaire. I was a dumbass, and I actually sold all mine for like $100. So, all right, let's see what we can do. Let's go ahead and max it out again and see what kind of wattage we're actually pulling. It says 1120. And that says 1120. All right, what I decided to do is add this EcoFlow, which charges at around 320 watts from an AC outlet, plus the 250 watt little heater. So now we're pulling about 600 watts. Let's add the solar degenerator that should put the inverter out of its misery. Well, let's hope it doesn't put it out of its misery, but it just shuts it off temporarily. Whoa, well, that was quick. And it blinks overload on there. Now that's something interesting I didn't notice before. It says time on there. But if you push the button again, it gives you the power factor and the voltage. I've never actually seen that. Okay, well that's pretty cool. That just tells you how efficient the power coming out is. Right now it's at 99% efficiency. All right, there we are. We're back at our 600 watts. I like this little meter. Okay, there we are. We're at 1500 watts. We're at 1600. And it shuts down at 1600. Okay, so it definitely saves itself. Now let's go ahead and push it to 1500 watts for at least 3 minutes to make sure it won't overheat or have any other kind of problems. This is where it gets dangerous. Okay, we're at 1500 watts. And there we have it, 5 minutes at 1500 watts. Let's go ahead and turn the loads off and we'll see how loud the inverter is. 57 decibels at about a meter. So not too bad at all. It's not an annoying sound. It's actually not bad at all for a small Sogen with a 1500 watt inverter. So a lot of times these fans are a lot louder on these inverters when you run them to maximum. So it seems to be cooling no problem. We didn't have any kind of overheating or shutdown issues. Pretty good inverter. Do note that if you have either DC output or AC output enabled, it will keep the screen on at all times. So being able to dim the screen might be handy in a dark environment. Now, if you decide to turn AC DC off, and who would ever turn off AC DC? Then it will actually power down and go into sleep mode because there's no load on it. And I know this next thing is going to be a major deal breaker for so many of you. Unfortunately, Pecron does not include anywhere on their product one of those highly useful 1 watt flashlights. Unfortunately, you'll just have to go to Jackery for that. Oh. Okay, what do I like about the Pecron S1500? Now, do note this is the S1500F version. F is for fast charge. Now, I don't know how slow the non-F version charges because that's not posted anywhere on their campaign page or their website. As for this model, Pecron has amazingly beat Jackery at their own game by providing a 1500 watt-hour Sogen that's at least a third smaller and 5 pounds lighter than the Jackery Explorer 1500. Okay, let's put the Jackery Explorer 1500 on the scale. 32.2 pounds. Now let's put the Pecron 1500. Same battery size. 27.8. There's the side profile. There's the Jackery 1500 compared to the Pecron. You can see there's a massive size difference. Just look at the side profile. The Explorer 1500 is almost twice the size of the Pecron. Why is it so big? Not only that, but with the special HOBOTECH Super Early Bird price, you can get this for $500 less than the Jackery Explorer 1500. Oh, and did I forget to mention too that the Pecron has a 2000 cycle battery compared to Jackery's 500 cycle battery? Oh, and before you go screaming in the comments, Jackery for some reason has taken away the 800 cycle description on their 1500 and 2000 watt hour products and now say they're only rated at 500 cycles. I don't know why they put 800 cycles in their big 40-minute long Apple-like presentation, but now if you go to the description of the 1500 or 2000, it only says 500 cycles, so we're going to go with that. Oh, last but not least, let's not forget that the Pecron gives you 175 watt hours of extra usable battery over the Jackery because this thing's so much more efficient than the Jackery. That makes the bang for the buck here simply incredible. And the final thing that I like about the S1500 is its fast charging ability. Seeing how you can take it from 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. Oh wait, that's a different show altogether. Seeing how you can charge it from 0 to 100 in under 4 hours is pretty fantastic. Now the new Jackery 1500 can do this too, using dual AC chargers, but the charger that comes with the Pecron does it all by itself. You don't need any extra chargers to get that speed. So what don't I like about the Pecron S1500? It has to be the PWM charging. I mean, come on, Pecron, PWM in 2021. Have the dinosaurs returned from the dead? I understand that good MPPT circuits aren't cheap, but you could have at least put a cheap MPPT in here instead of using workarounds like that crazy 12-volt adapter brick thing to charge from your car. Using PWM means that the input voltage is very limited. In fact, they suggest 36 volts of solar panels between 300 and 400 watts in order to max this out. That's two 12-volt panels, sometimes called 18-volt panels, in series. The problem is, if you want to use larger solar panels, like say you want to use Bouge RV 180 watters or the Ridge Solar 200 watters, you want to put two of those in series, there's a possibility that might be too much for the Pecron. And since I wasn't able to actually test that, I can't verify it's gonna work or not. Now we know that they expect 36 to 40 volts in for solar. What happens if you put 48 volts or 50 volts in? I mean, solar charging shouldn't be this Confucius. It's like BMW putting a plastic intake on a $50,000 car to save $100. What it clearly is cost cutting to the extreme. Now, one other thing I don't care for is the 12-volt Medusa cable, and I get it. They're trying to go for the most compact package possible, and they succeeded in totally owning Jackery. Now, while I can forgive them for that, there is something I can't forgive them for, and that is the lack of true power delivery ports. Come on, in 2021, a power delivery port is almost required with a lot of the devices out there. If you have one of those fancy new MacBooks, you can forget about charging it with the Pecron unless you dig out your AC wall adapter for your MacBook. So if you have a high-end computer or other device that requires power delivery charging, the Pecron can't do it. How would it hurt to drop two of these quick charge ports and just put a power delivery port in there? Even a 45 watt or 60 watt port would have been fine. And yes, while they do include this little adapter, it's not true power delivery. It still can only do 18 watts, and that's not going to help most people. Now, there's going to be a large percentage of you who don't care about power delivery. Most of the stuff you're using is just old school USB-A or using older devices. You don't have a fancy new MacBook, or you don't have anything that requires 60 or 100 watt power delivery. But if you're going to buy something like this and keep it for 5 years, you kind of want it to be future-proof. Now, the fact that Pecron didn't send me a cable to test the solar input must have been a pretty serious oversight on their part. I mean, it's one of the most important tests I was unable to do in this video, and that's testing the solar input ability. I did discover after my testing that this solar charging cable will be available as a $200,000 stretch goal. So if the campaign makes $200,000 on this product, they will include a solar cable with every order. And it also appears they're going to include a cable with battery clamps on it at a $100,000 stretch goal in order to charge this from a battery, which is pretty cool. Product price, and this is where Pecron's cost cutting really pays off. The current Jackery 1500 with their coupon discount runs about $1,440. The Pecron S1500F, that's this model, the fast charging model, with my special HOBOTECH discount is only $945. We're talking $500 difference between this and the equivalent Jackery product. Now, this special Hobo secret perk is only available to the first 100 of these sold. So after the first 100 of this model is gone, that secret perk will no longer be available to anybody. You'll have to go and pay the little bit higher price for the regular early bird. Now, after that, the price will increase. And they do offer a slower charging version of this that's slightly less expensive for $8.99 through the link below in the description. I think most of you are going to want to pay the extra $50 in order to get the fast charge version. They do also offer a smaller 1,000 watt hour version as well, and they have bundles with their solar panels and all kinds of other goodies. In the description below, there are going to be 2 separate links to this product. The first link is going to be labeled S1500F Hobo Deal. That's going to get you that secret $945 price on the S1500F model, which won't appear unless you use that link. So you have to use the link in the description or you will not even see this price available on Indiegogo. Now, the second link on there actually takes you to all the other products at their current prices. So link number 1 takes you to precisely this product with my special price, and link 2 takes you to everything else. As for competition, well, obviously the JACKERY 1500 is the direct competitor to this product. It's more expensive, it's more well-rounded. The JACKERY does offer a larger inverter that's just about the best out there. They also have on their product a 60-watt power delivery port, and they do have much better MPPT solar charging. However, are those features really worth an extra $500 to you? That's something you're gonna have to decide. What's the market focus for this product? It's the same as JACKERY. Ultra portability in the smallest package possible. These things aren't made for home backup. They're not meant to plug into your van through 12 volt and run every appliance in your RV. These are designed for being portable. One-handed carry with plenty of power. That's great for overlanders, van lifers, RVers, those of you that need to blow dry your quiff while glamping. This is perfect for you. So what can this power? Anything that you can plug into the wall up to 1500 watts. If you need some examples, you can run coffee makers, make hundreds of cups of coffee with this thing. Instant pots, several hours, rice cookers, crock pots, pretty much all day, induction cookers, charge your laptop on this several times. You can actually power a home Energy Star refrigerator on this overnight. Pellet stoves, you can run a small electric heater for 7 or 8 hours. You can run a hair dryer. As for microwaves, this should have no problem with the small to medium models. Televisions, electric blankets, fans, stuff like that. All standard procedure, you can run that on the Pecron. Now, runtime is going to vary depending on the device. You can get a kilowatt meter and figure out exactly how much power your device needs and see if it'll work with the Pecron. As for solar, you have a couple of options. You can just get the solar panels that Pecron includes in the bundle on the campaign page. Or if you want to be cheap, you can go to hobotech.tv/Amazon, click on solar kits, and go down and find Rich Solar. Rich Solar panels, everything from the glass panels, flex panels, SIGS panels, suitcase panels, are all 10 to 15% off with my code there. You can also still get Bouge RV solar panels for 12% off. Problem with Bouge RV is that their stock is very limited, and sometimes their shipping takes a long time. So now if you're interested in the Pecron S1500 or the smaller S1000 model, there should be 2 links in the description below. Now, if you only see 1 link in the description, that means that the first 100 of these are already gone. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that link once the first 100 are sold. Otherwise, I'm gonna get tons and tons of comments and people complaining that they don't see the special price. So if you're watching this video days, weeks, or months later, there's going to only be 1 link in the description, and that's going to be for the higher price. So if you do want to get this at the limited special HOBOTECH only price, be sure to click the appropriate link in the description. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me a thumbs up below, and if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
You gonna beat up my cat?
RV Golf Guy, Don Fulo, Athletic Audio Repair, Andrew Von Rupp, Richard Cardano.